but it also sounds that you're very intentional about your career and the way that you approached it. It's like you mentioned that you are an expert in gaming theory as well, but I think that sometimes in our careers, we have to, like you said, play the game to kind of get to where we want to be. And that's kind of hard to reconcile sometimes where, you know, on one hand, we know what we're passionate about. We know the research we want to do. We know the field we want to be in. But then on the other hand, we know that there are different steps that we have to take in order to put food on the table and become successful in the field at the same time. So I want to understand kind of the personal side of navigating that space and what recommendations you have for people who are in that space right now.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. And only now at 47 have I come to this realization of who I am and why I do the things that I do. But I want to make it really clear that I had no idea what I was doing for a long time. So it's okay. So don't think that I have it all together, because I don't, and I never will probably, and that's okay. But yeah, I mean, for one thing, I didn't even know I wanted to become an economist, right? Like, that's not a sexy career that children go, oh, you know, I want to be an astronaut and a ballerina and an economist. No. So that's one thing that I want to highlight. I also didn't know that I wanted to become a professor, right? I wanted to work in the industry because I wasn't exposed to that, right? So you can only dream of what you are exposed to, right? You don't even know the things that you don't know, right? But as life showed me that path, right, of, you know, I had this very inspirational, I took this random econ class in Canada, right, and I had this inspirational professor in economics who really opened up my eyes, right, and then actually something really sad happened, which is he died, right, and I decided to study economics, and then I was worried that I was studying economics because of him, but which can be very dangerous and problematic, right? But then I realized that I really liked economics when I had horrible professors. Most of my professors were like awful. They were so boring and so uninspiring, and I still like the subject. So I'm like, okay, I'm here for a good reason, right? But you know, as I went I didn't want to get a PhD. That wasn't in my plans. My parents don't have a PhD, right? So again, that's something that I was pursuing. But I went into the field and I realized, and this is when things got a little bit more real, that, you know, it's really sad to say it, but that you need power to make a difference, you know, and the way you define power varies, but that I wasn't being respected with a, say, bachelor's degree, you know, to actually, people wouldn't listen to me for many reasons, right? So there were reasons of gender and reasons of youth, ageism as well, but also because I didn't have the title, right, to like, you know, want my stuff.
And it's one thing, if I may, just because sometimes you could have all the knowledge and be able to work at that capacity, but you have to understand how the world works and how they view certain things. And so it's so real to point out that you could be just as qualified in terms of skill set, but people aren't necessarily looking at what you know. It's who you know and the letters behind your name at times. And it's unfortunate, but that's the reality.
It is. You're absolutely right. So I guess I was a game theorist, you know, since I was little, because I'm like, okay, so what is it? How can people listen to me? oh, you need a title. Okay, fine. All right. So then I'm going to get a PhD at, where is it? You know, because it's not all PhDs that matter, right? You know, it's again, it's all about brands and fakeness, right? And arrogance, right? So, which is not confidence, right? And so I was living in Costa Rica at the time, and it's like, oh, you know, U.S. PhDs. Ooh, I'm like, oh, okay, fine, all right. So then we started applying, but then I thought, okay, so that's it. I just get the PhD and I'm all set. Well, no, because when I got to the University of Connecticut, it turned out I started kind of in the middle of the academic year, because Costa Rica goes with a calendar year. So they finish their school in December. So I started in January. So I was taking all the like sequels, like the part 2 of my Girl in Math. And so, the University of Connecticut thought I wasn't gonna make it. Like they thought I was gonna fail, right? They didn't even bother to learn my name. My name is Mónika. They would call me Maria because obviously all Hispanic women are called Maria. I'm like, wow, okay, cool. And at the end of May, I had to do my qualifying exams, and I was so just unmotivated, right? Like I was just suffering from severe microaggressions, and it wasn't that it wasn't a nurturing environment. It was an aggressive environment that, expected me to fail, right? Because I was like the only woman, and I was Hispanic from Costa Rica. So they would say, oh, Puerto Rico? I'm like, no, it's another country,
Yeah.
Right? And so, but then I ended up scoring the highest grades of my class, if you will. So then they started to say, oh, Mónika, oh, Anuarbe, oh, Costa Rica, like they actually bothered again. And just to highlight that this happened the whole time, right? So as a student, as a grad student, also when I went into the job market, right, highly underestimated. And so, but I'm always about, it's not where you start, it's where you finish, right? So I'm like, okay, I've been there, done that, whatever, bring it on, I will prove you wrong. That's it. That's all you can do.
It's so true. And I love that you do it with a smile, because I think that's the key, because those environments really have the power to beat you down. And so understanding why you're there and keeping your end goal in mind, I think is so crucial, because you're up against people, like you said, who don't care to know your name. And just by virtue that you are a different color, that you are young, and that you're a woman, or even if you're older, if you look young, you're not taken as seriously. And, some of it sure is racist or sexist, but a lot of it is subconsciously so. And so, there are these deep-seated issues within society that people don't even realize are happening.